Hello and welcome to the Pod Awakens. My name is Jordan. With me on this ride of Ahsoka so far is Chris, and we
What's
have
up?
Ron back.
Pumped to
How
be here, y'all.
Yeah, how are you today, Ron?
I'm doing good. Good. You guys really held the fort down last week during, of course, naturally, that was the episode that I wasn't able to be there with you guys for. But you guys did a great job breaking it down, and we've got a lot more fun stuff to talk about today.
Yeah, before we dive into Ahsoka Part 6 here, just give us your thoughts on that fifth episode and the world between worlds and the all that good stuff.
So I think if I could sum it up the best in one word, it would probably just be to scream with joy as loud as I possibly could into my microphone for like 5 seconds straight. That would probably be my word. It was like everything that we could have asked for and more. The flashbacks to the Clone Wars were, I mean, chef's kiss. I saw people complaining that they might have been a little too like sound stagey. I didn't think that at all. I thought it was great, and it kind of just played into more the fact that this felt more like a vision for Ahsoka rather than actually going back and doing all this stuff. It was more just like little tiny bits of these memories, that she was having. Seeing Hayden back was amazing. He didn't miss a beat, just like he didn't in Obi-Wan. It was tremendous, dude. My only complaint, which isn't really a complaint, it's just me personally being, like a Darth Maul fan to the max, was that we didn't get to see him when they flashed back to the battle for Mandalore. But besides from that, like, no complaints. It was beautiful. I cried. You knew that was coming, so I don't even feel like I need to say that. But I cried numerous times, and yeah, I couldn't talk about it enough.
Awesome. Yeah. So that was part 5. We're going to talk part 6, which is called Far, Far Away, written by Dave Filoni, directed by Jennifer Getzinger, and it premiered September 19th, 2023 on Disney Plus. The official synopsis, if you're logging on to Disney Plus and say, what is this episode about? They give you a sentence. It's called The Search for Grand Admiral Thrawn Reaches Beyond of the Galaxy. So it doesn't really tell you anything. But
which is good. I like when synopsis.
Yeah. I mean, look, so I've done other podcasts like I've done one that, off the NBC show Superstore, right? And what we would do is at the end of every podcast we would do, when it's network TV, they have like the next episode out ahead of, like, they have the description, they have the synopsis. We used to be able to read those and be able to theorize. That's the only issue I have with like the streaming era, is that like we don't know what to theorize. Like I can't be like, just give me this sentence a day in advance too, and I'll be able to start speculating, on what's going to happen. But I kind of
theorizing anyway. But
yeah, I kind of figured we were going to get an episode like this where it's very little Ahsoka, because last week we had very little Sabine, right? We had none, so it felt like a balance like that, and that's how shows handle this. Like, if you watch Game of Thrones, you might get an episode where you don't have Tyrion in it, and you're like, I just watched an hour without Tyrion, this is worthless. And then you have, so in this case though, it actually flew by. And I had to think if Ahsoka even showed up. I totally forgot about the opening.
Yeah, that's
she shows up in the opening.
That's it, though. Yeah, that's the only part of the episode she's in.
Yeah, but they're traveling deep space with the Purgils, and we have Ahsoka the White now at this point, still without a staff, which is sad.
We'll get there. All in due time. She's slowly building the outfit.
Yes, yeah. She'll find the staff. She'll find the staff on Paradia, the planet that they land on.
Yeah.
Then she'll have it. But yeah, so we kind of start off with this great story between her and Huyang chilling, and we learn that he has all of these stories about Purgils. She said, I remember these animals from your stories, and about the other galaxy, and Balin's going to speak of that too, like how the Jedi archives or stories had stuff about this planet and about how the Night Sisters have come from here, supposedly. And all very interesting lore that we got dropped in this episode. This is not known information, everyone, if you haven't watched this stuff. And I'm actually very surprised at how much Thrawn we got in this episode, and I'm actually very surprised that we even got Ezra in this
Yeah.
episode. So let's start with Thrawn. Just kind of general thoughts on Lars Mikkelsen's live action debut of Thrawn. It is so cool hearing the cartoon voice and seeing a real live action Thrawn. But your thoughts on his introduction here with his spaceship?
Well, everything about it was awesome. Like you just said, the spaceship, that slow kind of almost where you felt like the earth shaking as it was approaching, like very kind of like Independence Day sort of vibe. You know what I mean? It's just
Yeah,
like this,
yeah.
like, oh boy. And then you just him walking down the center aisle between all of what I'm choosing to call, and I think they are undead stormtroopers that have been brought
Mm.
back to life by the Night Sisters, and just, oh man, it was chill inducing. It really was. And just that voice, to your point, like the very slow kind of like, it just, even if you didn't know who Thrawn was, hadn't seen Rebels, like is in your case, Chris, uh, you at the very least, I think this guy is bad news in a big way.
Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, this guy is creepy. He's creepy to the point that I think he did what he was supposed to do for the story, because he's obviously the bad guy, no question there. I also think he's incredibly calculating, and you can tell, the way he sets up. Hey, Sabine, go find Ezra, and then it's like, all right, Balin, go kill him. It's
Yeah, as soon as she finds them, just kill them both.
And admittedly, that tripped me. So when he first was like, you can go, I thought that would, like, he was just going to be like, whatever, what's she going to do? And I was going to have a problem with that because of what you mentioned, Chris, how calculating and 10 steps ahead of things Thrawn usually is. That would have been a very non-Thrawn move to make. So the fact that they added that, and it was like, actually, I'm just going to let you go kill them and deal with them. I really liked how they, brought that around and didn't, because I think if they hadn't, people would have, who didn't know Thrawn, would have automatically looked at him and been like, all right, so this guy's just your every run of the mill villain. He's blinded by his mission and his rage, and he makes these mistakes because of it. The fact that they played it out the way it did definitely added to that sort of 10 steps ahead vibe.
Well, it was very good to hear you say that, Chris, too, about how you could tell he's calculating, because that is something that Thrawn is very well known for. So the fact that that's getting across to people that have not watched Rebels and stuff, and I would say too, Rebels is not like the end all be all for Thrawn, like he is in some books. He's originally in books that are not canon anymore, too. But some people kind of thought him silly in Rebels at times, because he would be. The whole reason Filoni had to use him is he couldn't have Darth Vader be the one that keeps letting the rebels slip from his grasp, because it would make Darth Vader not intimidating. So Thrawn was kind of the one that would always have these rebels kind of slip from his grasp. Thrawn would always be like, we got them exactly where we want them now. Like, let them go to lead us to this. It is always his MO. Not very threatening, I would say. But in live action, I think they've kind of upped that a bit. He's been kind of very threatening with that. Like at first, like you said, Sabine, he's like, oh, you helped get me? So yeah, we'll let you live. And then he's like, no, just kill her when she finds Ezra. And the way that works, right? Like he doesn't know if Ezra's alive. So if she finds him, then we take out both at the same time. And he doesn't care about Balin and Shin, right? He says like, if they don't come back here either, we're taking off.
Yeah.
Too bad.
Train's leaving.
Yep. That's what he says to Elsbeth. He's like, really care about your mercenary. So whatever.
So you mentioned the stuff about going to find Ezra. I did have a little gripe with the fact, and I think it was just because they were crunched for time at the end of this series. It felt a little anticlimactic that, it's been 10 years and this dude can't find Ezra, and Sabine and this sort of, I don't even know, what would you call that animal? Because I had no clue.
They're like turtles almost, right?
No, not the one she's riding.
Like a wolf horse. I don't.
So, yeah, the warts. I don't know, but like those two were able to find him in like what was probably a few hours. Like it felt a little like anticlimactic, but it didn't really take me out of it or like ruin the episode for me at all. And like I said, I understand it. It was probably just crunched for time. Had to do what they had to do. Had to make some cuts where they had to. But yeah, I felt like I had to bring that up.
Well, I would also say for anybody that it does upset them, right? Is there was still a lot that had to be done to find them. What by that is, she does go on quite a long ride. We know that they're taking 3 days before they have to leave, right? They say 3 rotations. That means around the sun. 3 days before they leave. So we don't actually know how long she was gone. But two, I think Sabine's the only one that could have found him. And what I mean by that is the creatures were hiding, right? And the only reason they popped out, right, is because Sabine and her rider, right? But what made them trust Sabine was the Rebel logo on her shoulder. So that kind of like, even if Thrawn found those guys, right, the turtle people, and he didn't find their civilization because they always move it too. So that thing, I think that apart with it too. He says we don't stay somewhere very long. So even if he had found them, like, I don't think they're giving up any information to them. So for me, it worked. I was actually surprised that we saw him in this, just because I thought he would be somebody that we kind of keep kicking the can down the road. But we have 2 more episodes left after this, so they really did. And look, the guy who played, I have to look up his name again here, but the guy who played Ezra, and his name is, I had it here and now it is lost in the sands of all of these names in the show. He has the mannerisms completely down for Ezra. Oh, Iman Esfandi. There you go. He had the mannerisms down. He has like the voice down for live action Ezra. It was with a beard. I was not prepared for Ezra with a beard.
Jesus, Ezra.
yeah, he did look very Jesus-y. But I'm very thankful that we got him this early, and that we actually spent a little bit of time with him, and having their interaction where they actually hugged and kind of caught up a little bit. And I know this probably hits more for people that have watched Rebels and stuff, but I hope that after hearing about him for so long, knowing that you found him is hopefully a good feeling for the first time viewers. And now you get to finally see, what is this Ezra guy about, right? He doesn't have his lightsaber, right? Because he gave it to Sabine. So I'm really wondering how he's going to play into this. We're still waiting for Sabine to show any sort of force usage. She tried again, and we got a little bit of movement, but it was actually because of the starship.
I was like, oh shit! Like I thought she was having her moment, and it's like, nah.
They keep teasing it, man. They keep teasing it, and I wouldn't be shocked. Well, yeah, I wouldn't be shocked. I don't know if it would be the right move, because I feel like they've just been setting up for so long of Ahsoka being like her master, but I could also maybe see them having Ezra be the one that finishes her training, kind of like, I guess the best analogy would be to like open that last door that's been closed that she hasn't been able to open in terms of actually using the Force. Like he might be the key to that door, so to speak.
That's interesting. That'd be cool to see Ezra be like, not like a master, right? But just like friendly advice of,
exactly,
here's what, try this. And also the fact that this is now a weight off of her shoulder, right? She for the longest time has been struggling with this stuff about Ezra, where he's gone, all this stuff. They're reunited now. Maybe this does open up the door, like you say, Ron, that she can just feel she's not forcing it. No pun intended, right? But when you're forcing it, I feel like, okay, analogy.
Did you just make a Force joke?
Yeah, analogy, right? We see this with baseball all the time. Players go up there, they're 4-0-20, right? They're going up there, they're swinging at pitches because they're just trying to make something happen. And what happens? They get worse. They play worse. They have to get back to 4. That could be something that Sabine is going through with this.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, she's Chris Davis. Got it.
After the contract, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it would be kind of cool, like a she doesn't really have like one set mask, because they've pretty much broken all of the mold of the Force with this show, with the whole anybody can use the Force. It's not just a Jedi exclusive thing anymore. So who's to say you can only have one master? You know what I mean? Maybe her training comes from Ezra, from Ahsoka, from a bunch of different places.
Luke didn't have only one master. I mean, he went to Yoda after he'd already been trained by Obi-Wan.
Yeah, they always. Yeah, that's true. That is true. But they always like.
Well, that's because Obi-Wan died, right? I mean, like.
Yeah, it's kind of like they needed somebody to fill that void. But you are right though, Chris. Like, even though they ultimately recognize that Luke's master is Obi-Wan, even though he calls him Master Yoda, but that's just because he's a Jedi Master, you know. So yeah, I say all that, I guess, just to say that it would be kind of cool to do that.
Yeah, so I guess if we're gonna stick with how you just said they kind of changed how the Force and all this stuff is, my theory last week was Ahsoka the White is gonna buy more into the Jedi teachings again, right? Like she's reborn of that. Do you see that as that, or are you seeing Ahsoka the White as maybe meaning something else, or because I felt like Ahsoka the Gray was very I'm no Jedi, right? But now. Mm-hmm. She just seems to be at ease and at peace again.
Yeah, I think very much so. And I think you could even take this back to Book of Boba Fett, you know, when she saw Luke starting to slowly like rebuild the Jedi Temple. And I'm sure seeing that, even if it didn't make her want to, let me think of how to put it. Maybe it got her starting to like think about being a Jedi in the good parts and seeing the good parts of Anakin and Luke, and just maybe that can be another thing that sort of helps propel her back to that side. And everything that we've seen her go through so far in Ahsoka is all just kind of leading to something, and that could very well be what it is. You know, for all we know, maybe she can go and like kind of help Luke run that temple a little bit. There's a lot of possibilities.
Yeah, you want to make sure Jason stays away from that temple.
Yeah. Especially once Ben Solo enrolls.
Yeah, once he is enrolled. I don't think he's born at this point yet, but one thing that I thought was interesting with what you said there too is that, you know, I've seen people say, well, why was she training Sabine when she didn't want to train Grogu? And I think it's kind of the vice versa of that. Why did she not want to train Grogu? Well, she had a very time trying to train Sabine, right? And at that point, I think she had given up on Jedi stuff at all. So that's why she didn't want to train Grogu at that point. But yeah, maybe again, now she'll
like maybe all that stuff with Grogu and all, like maybe that was what kind of started that little shift back to like, all right, maybe enough time has passed. Maybe this won't be the same like it was in the way that it got going back to the Clone Wars, when it just everything became so jaded and they were all just pawns to Palpatine sort of thing, you know?
Yeah.
One thing that I thought was interesting was when they get to the new world or the other galaxy, they say Sabine reeks of the Jedi. And it's very interesting that if she's so unconfident with the Force and so unattached to the Force, that instantly they reeks of the Jedi. But Baylan and Shin don't get reeks of the Jedi, and Baylan has been very Jedi oriented. So I found that whole thing very fascinating.
I think what she was picking up was Baylan and Shin, and she thought that it was coming from Sabine, so that's why she restrained Sabine, because they knew, the mothers knew that Baylan and Shin were with Morgan Elsbeth. So like process of elimination, they're like, oh, I smell Jedi. You're the only one that's not with them. Sort of, okay, you're the prisoner.
Oh, okay.
See,
Yeah.
I take it a different way. So I take it that they were sensing it from Sabine, and while she's not very force apt, it's her, I feel like sometimes there's just something you carry with yourself. This, the way that she was acting, even. Why they don't get it off Balin and Shin is because while Balin's been honorable, quote unquote, he's tapping into some dark side. He's teaching Shin. He's made it very clear in this that he didn't really care for the way that the order was, right? Like he liked the idea, is what he said. I like the idea of it, but like it had to go. We had to get to this stage that we're at now. And I want to kind of shift it to Balin because
Me too.
he kept his word. No harm would come of her, but as soon as he starts going back on it, right? Thrawn says, you're going to go kill her and Ezra if you find it. And Shin is very, what? So you're not going to keep your word? And they're like, well, almost like they pull an Obi-Wan from a certain point of view. We kept the word now, but we're going to break the word next.
Exactly.
We'll keep the word by letting her meet Ezra, and then we're going to kill her. So it was very Obi-Wan from a certain point of view. But Shin was very not for this, and Balin seemed to have any qualms about it. So, thoughts on Balin and his code of honor? What's he after?
It was very weird because everything leading up to this episode so far in this show portrayed Balin as sort of the more redeemable one and the one who you think there might still be something in there that's good. And Shin was just sort of the cold, ruthless, stab Sabine. Like she felt much more Sithy than Balin. And it almost felt like not to coin a pro wrestling term here, but like a double turn. It was like, okay, now he's going back on his word, and she's kind of like, wait a minute, dude, like taking the stance of morality, so to speak. So that was really interesting, and I don't know how people are going to receive that if that's the route that they end up going. Like the first half of the season is all making Balin look like the one who's going to be redeemed, and then they kind of pull the rug out and say, oh no, actually it's Shin, even though she was kind of the bigger a-hole, so to speak. And I'd also be interested to see how they explain that, because it would feel a little out of nowhere. But I love them both. They were both great this episode. And I'm also kind of curious, while we're on the topic of Balin, what do you think it is that is supposedly, that he's searching for? Because he mentioned that something on this planet was calling out to him. Do you think that was a literal thing, or do you think it was more of a metaphor?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of theories, like them saying we're going to start a new civilization here. This will be his chance to start something from the rise up. But I don't know if that's what he's going with here. Maybe there's something with, this is the ancient home of the Night Sisters, apparently. They're force sensitive. Maybe it's to do with that. I think we'll want to stop being vague about that very soon. So right at this point, I think he has this way of, I don't care. I don't think he would care if he's left here. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting from that. So if that's Thrawn's goal, he might be like, that's totally fine with me because I can, I'll start something with what's here, type of way. The way that he mentioned it was in the archives and stuff, like I felt like this might have been some of his end goal the whole time, is getting to this place.
Yeah.
I just don't know what he'll do here.
It's so
It
cool.
seems like it.
Yeah, dude, it's so cool. There's so much potential. Sorry, Chris, I didn't mean to cut you off, but it's just
No, you're good.
Yeah, it's very cool. It's a very rare thing, I think, today in Star Wars, when you can not only surprise the casual audience, but also the mega nerds like us. And we're really delving into that territory now, and it's awesome to see.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we were talking about with Shin seeming a bit more evil or a bit more Sithy, you have to also remember she's young, she's trying to prove herself to her master. And what I think we get with her is she doesn't necessarily have the grand scheme that Balin has. She just wants power, and she wants a seat at the table of something. And I think when Balin's comfortable being just left there and like, don't you feel the power that's here? She's like, no, I don't feel it. I don't want to get stranded. Don't make me do this, Dad. This kind of the vibe I get from her. I think she's a young character who's trying to find her way, and she's been led by a master. She's an apprentice. So I don't necessarily think she's more Sithy than Balin. I think she's more hungry, and that literally is what gets everyone to the dark side the quickest is ambition and anger.
I think she just hasn't ever thought to ask these type of questions before. And now when she sees something, she's been trained in a way where it is like, I feel like he's been training her to be honorable. You know, we're better than they were, but we're not as bad as the Sith. And it comes to it of maybe breaking. She's questioning it because she's like questioning everything you've told me now, because why was I trained one way? It's like when your parents tell you like to not do something and then you see them doing it, you're like, well, why are you doing that but I wasn't allowed to do that? You start questioning things, and she starts really probing. So this is when you miss it, the order, is is there maybe a way to bring it and we rebuild it? It's kind of this way I was thinking she's getting, or like perfect it almost. Like maybe that's what she's thinking that they're going for, is like bringing it back, but in a better way, to be better than the Jedi were. While Balin's very anti-politics, it feels like, he's the one that's like, both parties are shit. It's kind of the way that Balin is. I feel like, and he's like, I'm gonna create my own political party over here. Is what it kind of seems like.
He's like a libertarian, only an actual libertarian, not just people who say they're libertarians.
He's like the Ron Swanson of the show. He's got a stash of bacon somewhere.
Yeah.
Now that just makes me want to see Ray Stevenson play Ron Swanson.
I enjoy cutting wood in my free time. Anyway,
with my lightsaber.
So, to Jordan, you pretty much stole the thought out of my head, and it was kind of to go off of Chris's point. The fact that she's young and all this stuff is plays into it, but I don't think it's that she's so like hungry for power. I think that she has spent so much time blindly following this guy and just trusting in him, and that his goals and his sort of mission was the rightful one. And when he sort of half-truthed Sabine, but really lied to Sabine, that was the first time that she really kind of saw the mask slip a little bit of his honor, and the fact that like, if this guy is going back on his word and all that stuff, maybe he's not this sort of, deity-esque, like he doesn't deserve to be on this pedestal as my master that I put him on. And now she's starting to slowly question more and more, go back probably in her head, going back to moments in the past that she's probably overthinking. And ultimately, I do think it will lead to her either turning on him, or Thrawn will destroy him, and that will be what causes her to join the right side, the light side.
And we can't rule this out. I just want to point out, this is a trend in some of these shows, right? When you have a character like Agent Callus, who started out as the big bad for season 1 and becomes part of the rebellion. So it could be that Shin, like you said, does do this turn and ends up, following the way. Now she may also be more of like a free agent too. Like she may not still like the Jedi, but she still may not like what her master had done. It's kind of like when you find out your role model did something that you're like, oh, they're human as well, right? You looked up to them for so much, and then you're like, oh, they made a mistake, and that's what I feel like she's seeing from this is, oh, you led Sabine to think of one way, and you gave her your word, and you brought it up multiple times that you gave her your word, and now you're gonna take her life. It was like that moment of, almost like don't meet your heroes type of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is where Balin and Shin are. Now you're talking about the undead soldiers is what you're thinking here. We've kind of seen that with Merrick, so it could be a tie-in with that. It also could just be that, like, what I also got from them is maybe because the way Thrawn says, like, we've already lost some people before, and he like will only send 2 people to accompany, like 2 battalions or whatever, like 2 units to go follow Shin and Balin. And Morgan Elsbeth said maybe we can send more, and he's like, we've kind of lost a bit. So they're either undead or like weapon stuff. Their armor is so worn out at this point from the conditions and stuff that they've had to repair this stuff. So I'm curious to see which way they go with it, because I would rather them not be undead, because I think that will take some of the stakes out if they have to defeat them. It's like, oh, well, they're already dead. So we can take them out, easier, and they're just like fodder at that point. But I also like
to attest that in general, though, stormtroopers are kind of like fodder in Star Wars in general.
But I mean, these are people
not counting like Bad Batch stuff and like
right.
Rex and Fives and all them, but like in a general, like think like original trilogy / any of the movies really. They're droids and stormtroopers. They're always kind of fodder, so that wouldn't take me out of it.
Let's be honest. If stormtroopers could aim, there would be no original trilogy. There'd be one movie. They'd all be dead.
Yeah, but so in my opinion with that, though, it's like what I mean by more of the stakes is like then our heroes are actually, killing people. You know what I'm saying? Like, which maybe then you can dive into struggles of that. Like in Rebels, it's more kiddish at times, especially in the first few seasons. So like they're obviously just like stunning them, or they're knocking their heads together, not actually killing them. So if they're undead, it just seems like, well, they already died. It's not our fault. But I also like the idea of like these soldiers for 10 years, just like roughing it and having to still listen to Thrawn and like repair their armor themselves and stuff, I think is a cooler idea than just like the Night Sister stuff.
And also just at this point they've had, if they are in fact human, they've had 10 years of propaganda from Thrawn of hearing that, the reason you're all stuck here is because of them. Just, filling all of their heads with how evil, just the New Republic. Well, I guess,
he wouldn't know.
It wasn't the New Republic yet, so he wouldn't know it was the New Republic.
He would just keep calling them rebels, I guess.
Yeah, just the rebels. Yeah, I guess. But you would have to imagine if they are like sentient, conscious beings, they're probably pretty pissed off at the moment and looking to unleash that on somebody.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so then we have we have Ezra enter with Sabine and all of that good stuff. We have Sabine go through a lot here. I loved her little werewolf horse thing. It was so cute. I was gonna riot if it ended up dying, especially when she yells at him to leave and then he comes right back.
Can't you see we don't want you anymore?
Yeah.
So in my head, that's a mule dog.
Mule dog.
Because it's kind of like a mule and it's kind of like a dog. So in my head, it's a mule dog. And you can kind of like make it sound like it's not meaning those things, like a mule dog.
I think I saw people calling it something. I just can't find it is right now.
Like, why wouldn't they just tell us what it is? I mean, we know what purgils are because they use the word. Like, just come up with a thing. Tell us what it is.
It's very wolf-like, which is on the nose for Dave Filoni. He loves wolves.
Yeah, oh, he loves wolf. Even what is oh god, I heard this today. What is it?
Skull and Hati are both wolf names or something. Yeah.
And oh, okay, theory time. Another one. Because we mentioned this before last week's episode when we were covering episode 4. I guess what is Balin? It's like the wolf that chases the sun. I believe that's what it is. So what if what this thing that's calling out to Balin, what if that is the sun? You know, we talked about the Mortis gods and all that stuff. What if this sort of thing he's been hearing, and like maybe it's the sun?
Yeah, I think there were some people spreading rumors or something that maybe like the Mortis stuff and the Night Sisters and all of that are originating from this galaxy and from this planet, which would be interesting.
It's just this is the spooky Star Wars planet. Every spooky thing in Star Wars comes.
Oh yeah, because we had like Purgil bones in the graveyard out front of it,
and it said that's where they go to die. So
yeah,
that's like it would support that notion that it's just like the planet of death and all things spooky.
It is spooky season, guys.
And that too, man.
So I don't know. I would think. I think worlds. I don't know if we get Mortis stuff because I think that's a little too much at that time. You know, like let's also think of it this way: we have 2 episodes. To introduce that it is the son of a Mortis, of the Force, a personification of Force.
Of the dark side of the Force.
Of the dark side of the Force. Calling Balin. It's too much to set up in 2 episodes, I think. But
if they were to go that route, I do not think it would be paid off in this season. I think it would be something, it would be like a cliffhanger at the end. Like Shin and Balin are either stranded on this planet or they have their moments with Sabine and Ezra, and Ahsoka's on her way there. And they'll come to some kind of like agreement or something, and they will stay there because Balin wants to keep searching for whatever this thing is. And at the end, he would probably come across some kind of cliffhangery moment that would imply it was the sun, but it wouldn't be paid off until. Although now, and I just totally realized this.
Yeah,
I hope they didn't go that route because Ray Stevenson won't be here.
I said so. If they did go that route, I hope they cut it so that way we don't have to deal with setup for something and get.
That's just not going to be paid off. Yeah, no,
I don't want Baitcast or anything. It's just he's been a revelation in the role. It's so it's a a good. That's also really makes me think if he doesn't die in this, like what we're gonna miss and what he could have been. Because he's been so much more interesting than any of the villains we've had in any of the TV shows. He's been the most fleshed out villain I think we've got is him and Shin, right? We actually get scenes of just them. We don't really get that. Like Moff Gideon is
gray.
Yeah, Moff Gideon's fun, but it's Giancarlo hamming it up, right? Like it's not. We get like maybe 1 or 2 scenes of Giancarlo by himself. Every other time, it's like he's talking to one of our favorite characters.
Yeah.
In this, we get tons of alone time with Balin and Shin in these 6 episodes so far. And they've just been so much deeper than I thought they were ever going to be from the trailers. And they're portraying them so well that like, I hope we get a wrap up of Balin, but I hope Shin is able to stick around because I'm really digging her character, especially now that she's starting to question stuff. I think that can be a lot of fun if we have a season 2, or if we, if she shows up in the movie or Mando 4, like there's so many opportunities.
This is what blows my mind with Star Wars. It's one story, so it's all like their timeline's already set, and then we're making decisions with all the stuff, and we're adding new stuff to everything. It's such an interesting way of storytelling that I don't think you get in any other franchise. But I'm really interested in Balin's. I'm very captivated in him. And nothing's worse than thinking what we could have gotten.
Yeah.
And this actor is phenomenal in this role, and I can't say enough good things about him. I do want to see Shin not get stuck with his storyline if it doesn't go anywhere. I want Shin to be a character that goes on, because
And
I
that could
think
be a
there's
way
so
they
much
wrap
to
it up.
do.
That could be a way they wrap it up if they had another idea, like Shin comes back and just says, like Balin died in this thing or whatever, right?
Mhm.
Like she can explain what happened and why she's separated with him, whatever. Like if they didn't have it planned out originally, there's ways to get around it without recasting or anything like that.
Mhm.
So,
And I do think that there are 1,000% big plans. I would say, for both of them, but at the very least now for her, they wouldn't spend this much time in an Ahsoka show fleshing out these characters and giving them, to your point, so many alone scenes that don't even involve the characters that are the focus of the show, just to end it after that. So
yeah.
I think Shin will be around for a while. And will probably ultimately end up turning to the good side. And I think, yeah. So if you were worried about this being it for her, I wouldn't be worried just yet.
I'm going to start shipping it. I'm shipping Shin and Ezra. How about that?
Shinra. Oh God.
Shinra, yeah. Ezjin. Yeah. Yeah, so one thing you said, Chris, that I wanted to kind of bring up too, for all the people that were always worried that like we're going to start getting multiverse stuff in this universe, I just want to kind of like,
Fuck it, my time to shine. Hello, you liar.
you
Sorry.
don't need to with Star Wars, right? Because when they say like, because people will be like, well, it's a way to bring a character back, right? Like for all the people that want Hugh Jackman back, oh, multiverse, Tobey Maguire, multiverse. In Star Wars, while we have one timeline, we are constantly experiencing different projects in different timelines all the time. Bad Batch is currently between episodes 3 and 4. They went back and retroactively added Min-Na Wen's character, which I'm blanking on her name right now. From Mandalorian. She was
the actress. I don't know the actress.
Ming-Na Wen is the actress. Yeah, I don't know her character name in.
No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, like the actress name for some reason isn't. I can't put a face to it.
Oh, she's the one from like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and stuff. If you've watched any of that, she voiced Mulan as well. What is her name? Why am I blanking on this? Oh, Fennec Shand. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So they went back and added her in Bad Batch after she premiered in Mando, and now it's like this character has long lore history, right? But she's a new character, and you're able to do that stuff, and you can revisit Darth Vader without doing a multiverse because you do a story like Obi-Wan where he's still alive, or you do a story like this where she's carrying the legacy of Darth Vader and stuff. So you don't need to do like multiverse stuff, So anybody worried about that was just, and also another galaxy does not equal, a multiverse. It's a different thing. Galaxies are all in this one universe.
Dude, for as many missteps as Disney has admittedly made with Star Wars, and they'd be the first ones to tell you, they know they can't. They cannot. They simply cannot. It would throw such a monkey wrench into everything unnecessarily. It would be solely done for the purpose of fan service while breaking everything that we've ever known from the lore, and not in a good way like they kind of have with some things in this series. It would be it would be a catastrophe. I just stopped myself from unleashing a F-bomb.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. They can give us that fan service stuff like we see in this show without doing that, right? Like
do it logically. Just do it logically.
Yeah, exactly. So anybody worried about that, I would say don't worry about it at this point for sure.
What I'm digging about this is the storytelling, though.
Project.
I'm digging the storytelling, though, so I'm not really worried about anything. This show has really calmed me down because I started this going, am I going to be lost? Am I going to be interested? Am I going to be invested? guys, have I not been invested this whole time? The
Right.
show gives you enough. It's doing a lot of good stuff with storytelling. It's just making me care. It's showing me. It's not necessarily telling me. So I'm getting things. You'll say, "Oh, I'm so glad you mentioned that because you didn't watch this." Yeah, because it's giving me a reason to care. And that's awesome. Like the only thing I would say is like you haven't seen Ezra in like forever, and I don't really know their character dynamic, but she's like desperate to find him, and it's kind of like an anticlimactic, like very casual, like hi, like
That's very much them.
Yeah,
That's just
it is.
that's
Yep.
just very much them for sure.
and that's fair.
They're not the run up embrace and the twirling each other around in the hug.
They are like a lot of people have kind of coded them as relationship, right? But Ezra's message at the beginning of this says that she's like a sister to him.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's him trying to get ahead of being friend zoned or something.
Wouldn't be the first time Star Wars did some weird
true. But yeah, them not like running up and hugging, that is them. Anytime they've been super chill, lay back, sibling-esque, ribbing each other type of thing. So him being like took you long enough was like perfect. Ezra. So I guess let's kind of move on from this episode and just kind of start thinking about what we think is going to happen in the next two, because we've got maybe a lot. We're expecting Ahsoka to maybe make her appearance next episode. They kind of hint with that. You would kind of think, by the way it happens anyway, that would be what would happen. But also with them saying, we have like the Night Sisters were feeling another presence arriving or something. And that's when it's funny that it sounds like Balin thought for sure he killed her, right? And that's what he reported to Morgan Elsbeth. And he's dead. She's dead. And Thrawn's like, guess not.
Are you sure about that? The John Cena meme.
So is it possible that Ahsoka's going to come screw up Thrawn's plan, and they're all going to be stuck there? Is that a possibility?
Oh, it's a possibility. I don't think it is going to be what happens. I think this is going to end very much with an Empire Strikes Back kind of feel. So as we know, Thrawn sent 2 of his battalions out to follow Shin and Balin. I think next episode will be heavy Shin, Balin, Ahsoka, and Sabine kind of stuff. Probably a lot of dialogue, kind of really just culminating that story. And it'll also be where we see what happens with this turn or no turn thing. Whether we see both of them turn to the light side, whether we see just Shin, whether we see just Balin. Who knows at this point? But I think we get that in this next episode. And it'll sort of culminate with Ahsoka and Sabine and whichever 1, 2, or both of them sort of fighting these battalions that are coming for them. And I do think sort of in the fracas and in the fighting and all that stuff, this is going to end with them stranded on this planet and Thrawn and Morgan Elsbeth getting away with the army. I don't know if they come back for a season 2 of this and show how they get back. I don't know if they just do like Disney's big on the special presentations now, so maybe it'll just be sort of like a mini movie kind of thing. But they're going to have to do more between now and the Heir to the Empire movie, which is, what is that at this point? At this point, I think it's 2027, and that was
2026. Supposedly it's one of the 2 movies in the 2026 timeframe.
Well, with the writer's strike still going on, let's just say 2027.
I will say though,
that wasn't happening even pre-strike. They weren't doing 2 movies. That was vintage Disney Star Wars right there. We're gonna put out 3 movies in 2 years. It's like, guys, make one that's great.
Right.
Let's go from there.
The CEOs are getting involved in the strike now, so I am expecting the WGA strike to end first, I would think, and then we'll have to worry about the actor strike. But hopefully by the end of this month or early next month, we can start putting this behind us. I think both teams are going to end up back in the regular galaxy.
Okay.
I'm just trying to figure out how that's going to happen.
They'd have to find another ship or something, unless they're all held as prisoners by Thrawn, maybe?
Well, I assume actually maybe Ahsoka's Purrgil could carry them back, right? And the Chimera, right, which is the ship that Thrawn has, I lock into the the space ring and get taken back. Is how I assume that's going to happen, because we still have to see Thrawn in the hyperspace ring. That's in the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
I assume maybe
that is true. I didn't even think of that. That is
I
true.
assume maybe they leave first, and then the others have to chase them back, and then we kind of get some wrap up with Hera's trial, and the New Republic finally figuring out Thrawn has returned.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Hera's going to stand up there and say somehow Thrawn has returned.
Dude, you know what would be really sick? If in the last episode it is Hera's trial and Thrawn comes back and just wrecks shit, just like absolutely bombs it, and just like that's like the okay, now you guys can see Thrawn is back moment. Like I could totally see that.
And be like, so am I still a general?
yeah. So do I still have a job? Like they're all on the ground, just like.
Because I feel like we have to get wrap up with Hera and Jason this season too, and I would assume that's in the last episode, because this next one's going to be a huge episode in this galaxy.
Do we though? Because if they're planning on a season 2 of this, I could definitely, or I would even probably bet that they save most of the Jason stuff for season 2. One, maybe like a little older sort of thing, like the actor himself. I mean, or they could just recast like they always do. But yeah, I don't see them paying off Jason stuff this season at all.
Well, maybe not like, I meant more like with the Hera trial and Jason's, there with her, in the ship. We got to kind of see that, and like maybe Carson Teva again. Do we see Zeb at all? I'm thinking not now.
Probably not.
Maybe if they all come back, Zeb is there to have like this small Rebels reunion where they all are there except Kanan. That could be. We have to get that at some time. Like recreate the painting with the surviving members, please. That would be great.
We are absolutely, and they can all have T-shirts of like the sky with the angel wings, and it's got Kanan's face on it. Like,
oh, I thought you were gonna say like the T-shirts like Ahsoka lives, but it's like Zeb lives or something.
Oh no! Like when you see somebody pass away, and it's the white T-shirt, and then it's got like the sky with the angel wings.
Yeah, Kanan, Freddie Prinze Jr.'s face right there.
Yeah.
So does Jason's force sensitivity help Hera's trial a little bit? Can Jason's insights, and because they know of his father, can that help Hera's trial in any way? Like,
it depends on what they can include as evidence, right? Because like in my mind, Hera even being aware of Carson Teva and seeing the map is broken and that people were there should be enough evidence to say something is going on. But and if that's not enough evidence, I don't think they'd be like, well, this 10-year-old said he could hear lightsabers in the water, and that means Thrawn's coming back. Like,
I mean, you got Hu Yang, who's programmed to tell the truth, right? Like,
so I could, if they do something with Jason's force stuff, what I think it'll be kind of similar to what I was saying before about like they come and they bomb Hera's trial. Like maybe he kind of like senses that coming, and he's like trying to get trying to get people's attention, and like nobody's listening to him because we're in the middle of this crazy trial, sort of like a metaphorical equivalent to the kid in Jurassic Park when he's looking at the glass of water on the table, and it's just
yeah.
But like kind of like a similar thing. It's like he just has this like feeling in his head of what the hell is this, and it's like the Chimera approaching sort of thing. Again, just another thing to nod at the fact that he's force sensitive without like really having to dive into something that people will be upset that they didn't have enough time to pay off before the end of the season.
Yeah, we may not even see the trial. Obviously, it may just be when they come
We
back.
should.
Hera might just be like, "So I got stripped of my general." But I'm still down to fight if you guys are, right. Like I'm assuming she'll kind of go back to being quote unquote a rebel. You know, like
Dude. Okay.
she kind of loses her official capacity.
All right. Going another harebrained theory time here. Kind of stealing from Game of Thrones. Maybe they do a thing like they did with Cersei. Only so. Do we have Game of Thrones fans in this show? You two?
Yes. I watched it all.
Okay.
Yep.
So while Hera wouldn't herself bomb the trial, maybe Hera doesn't show up because she's like, this is a sham. I shouldn't have to do this. And the place gets bombed anyway. And that's like kind of what essentially like makes her like have to reunite with all the rebels and stuff again.
And
Because
Hera's
like,
watching from like King's Landing.
yeah,
on the Ghost.
yeah,
She's
kind
like,
of thing.
"Hmm."
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, who knows?
Uh,
Who knows? There's a lot of possibilities out there.
There is. So I think it's funny though. We do have a lot, but it seems like we don't, right? Like I feel like they can adequately wrap this up in 2 episodes and leave a little thread for a possible season 2 or whatever is to come with the movie. But I do think Thrawn has to get to the new galaxy, our old galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
I think that has to happen.
Agree.
And they can't beat him in this galaxy. And
No.
like this is the storyline, right? This is what they've been building to in Mando. This is what they've been building to. This is what's going to happen. He is going to have to get back there.
So Thrawn has to be big and bad. Thrawn has to be intimidating.
They cannot Quantumania this. They cannot Kang in Quantumania this. If they do, people like it. Just nobody will take him seriously.
Yeah, I have faith in Dave Filoni. I think he'll pull it out here. Also, I want to. So, is this a reference here at the beginning when Huyang says that there's three stories of the like in his archives or whatever? It's like History of the Galaxy Part 1, Part 2, Part 3. With Ahsoka saying Part 1 is the best. Is that a shout out to the original trilogy? A shout out to the prequel trilogy. What is it just a shout out
prequel? Yeah, I think prequel because it would the way Hu Yang had it would be chronological. Yeah. So it probably like Clone Wars, stuff like that.
Yeah, I just didn't know if this was like a the original is better type thing that they were just throwing in there, or because there's 3 trilogies, there's 3 stories that Yang has. Obviously, they're not actually the stories of the trilogy, just the history of the galaxy. But just like it seemed like a fun nod to the fact that they've had like 3 trilogies and stuff.
Exactly.
All right. Anything else that we forgot?
No. I think we pretty much covered everything. The only other thing that I would probably throw in just to add on to the discussion about the undead army before, Thrawn's kind of number 1 man in command, who I think I saw some people say on the subtitles his name was Enoch.
Yeah.
Awesome armor, very kind of 300 kind of vibes that you get from it. Just so cool, so creepy. And I felt remiss to not mention that once throughout the show because it was badass, man.
Yeah, and I just want to shout out. I really like Huyang saying a long time ago in a galaxy far away as they set up this. But
isn't it a galaxy far away in Star Wars?
Yes, it was amazing.
Well, yeah.
Oh,
well,
have they? Oh, okay.
It's if the history of the stuff is coming from this separate galaxy, then yeah, that still fits with the theme of the thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, if his original story is, they talked about in the Jedi archives how this place, if it is true that the Night Sisters and stuff started there, they have the Force. That there could be actual history from this other galaxy that then they traverse to this galaxy. So he could be saying about the other galaxy. But if you're ever going to pull that off in a real Star Wars project, this was the time to do it. Having telling a story.
It wasn't tongue in cheek. It wasn't cheesy. You would think, Like if you told me, like if I opened X or Twitter or whatever and saw that was mentioned, I'd be like, oh God. But then in the context of the show, it actually quite works.
It just kind of made you smile.
Yeah, definitely.
I wanted to see the yellow crawl. I was like,
I'm just imagining like now, like as soon as He Yang said that, like he started blaring the music from his speakers.
Yeah. It was like,
yeah. And then he's like reading the crawl, and she's
yeah,
like, okay.
yeah. Somehow Palpatine has returned. Oh, sorry, this is in the
all right, Peter.
oh, man.
Yeah, so Enoch, yeah, he's got the gold face on his trooper. Also, we also get a quick reference I wanted to point out here too, with Thrawn recognizing Balin's skull and saying, "Oh, General Balin's skull," because all the Jedi were generals and stuff. So it was just a fun little nod to that. Apparently, in the books, he's had run-ins with Anakin and Ahsoka when he was a Republic officer. He didn't seem to really. I mean, I don't know if they had any interactions in Rebels. I can't remember. But he was like, we need to get her full history, like master and all that kind of stuff. So he'll have a dossier on her, I guess. But I'm sure he's heard the name Ahsoka Tano before too. It didn't seem like a new name to him.
Yeah, definitely just reputation precedes her sort of thing.
And it's also like 10 years of being stranded on here. Like if he forgot something, like that's totally fine.
Yeah.
You know, like 10 years
something
of not having
the mind. Yeah.
Not having the HoloNet to Google something.
One thing I very much liked in this episode was Sabine kicking butt with the lightsaber.
Oh,
yeah, because
that was really good.
Guns, right? And then like she has to like pocket them and be like, never mind, I'm going back with the lightsaber again.
And she kicked butt with a lightsaber, so I was like, okay, she can do that.
Yeah, we're already seeing her progress and get better and better. I mean, the first fight with Shin was a mess. Second one was a lot better, and last night when we see her, she's wrecking shop, so to speak.
It's all with use and practice too. Like the first time with Shin, like she had not touched that thing in years, I'm guessing, and then now she's starting to train again. Plus, kind of relying on her instincts as a Mandalorian who did have the Darksaber and did have other physical weapons and stuff.
Yeah, so I think that's pretty much it for this week. I think we tied a pretty good bow on it, and buckle up because these next two are going to be something.
Buckle up, Buttercup.
It's gonna fly by, I'm sure. As we're leaving, I'm just gonna pop this up for you, Ron. Just there's your Maul DeLoreans, the closest you're getting to Maul in this show.
My next hope that I'm holding out hope for is the the Lando movie. So we might get him in
because it's a movie now, not a TV show,
and it's going to be a continuation of Solo. So like they already, they did all the Crimson Dawn stuff at the end of that. So it would make sense that maybe they kind of pick up where that left off.
Yeah,
you would think they'd want live action Maul. You would think they would like it's got to be a money printing machine for them.
Yeah. And it's just he's too big of a character to not bring back in live action at some point. So I know we'll get him. I guess I just got to kind of remain patient until then. But fingers crossed.
You just have to wait. Ball don't come easy.
All right, let's not get copyright strike. Okay, so let's we'll wrap it up here. You can contact us at podawakens on all the socials. Give us your feedback. You can review us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify now. Drop any comments or reach out to us however you want in the YouTube video below, and we'll catch you next week when we talk part 7 of Ahsoka.